So it's super snowy here. So we have the help of all these guys to get the bike across the road. They're all deciding whether or not we can actually make it there. I think we can. What do you think? Just try. Inshallah, we'll make it one day.
Yo, it's me, Alex. Remember how I was telling you that story about my friend Anika and I? You know, the one where we traveled across northern Pakistan to plan a rather epic women-only tour? Well, this is part 2. Hold on to your seat. It's a seriously bumpy ride.
That's why you go carefully.
In case you missed part 1, or if your memory is as bad as mine, here's an abridged version for you. I'm Alex. I'm from the US. This is Anika. She's from Pakistan. We're both travelers, in case you couldn't tell. In 2019, we worked together to create a unique Pakistan tour for women, by women, meaning research trip. We took a freaking long bus ride up the Karakoram Highway. We got lost AF looking for crazy perilous suspension bridges. We missed our Jeep, failed our trek, and watched polo matches in Yaseen Valley. We parted ways for a hot sec. Anika trained tour guides, I got a motorbike. Then, I drove from Hunza to Funder Valley to meet up with Anika after a week apart. Now we're all up to speed. Shall we carry on with the story?
So I'm on my way to Funder, which is in Ghizer district, which basically runs along the road that goes between Gilgit and Chitral. And I was here last year in 2018, and it was one of my favorite places that I visited in Gilgit-Baltistan so far. And even just driving here now, oh my god, man, I forgot how beautiful it is here. Look.
Funder is famous for 2 things, a lake and trout fish. Our goal was to find out what else tourists can do there, aside from, you know, fishing. Which, for the record, we were very bad at.
We are totally failing at catching fishes, but those kids over there just sold us 3 of their fishes. In the end, we caught 0 fish. Oh yeah, we caught all of these fish. Look at that. See, look at our haul.
The thing is, the beauty of places like Funder lies in doing, well, nothing. Sitting around, talking with locals, enjoying a slow pace of life. Things that aren't so easy to do when you're on a tour with limited time. To find an official thing to do, we again asked locals about interesting places in the area. Our guest house owner told us about the Coca-Cola spring, a spring high in the mountains that supposedly tasted like Coke and had healing properties. The spring was several hours away from Funder, meaning it was time to fire up the motorbike. The only problem was, I'd hardly ever driven with other passengers on the back. And I'd definitely never motorbiked on unpaved roads in the mountains with someone on my back before. But there's a first time for everything, right?
Anika is trusting me to drive her on these mountain roads because she is bold and possibly we are both stupid. I'm not sure.
Anika trusted me just enough to let me drive her. And so we set out on our first bike excursion together, driving up into the Karakoram Mountains. We followed our guest house owner along a dirt road that eventually leads to Shandur Pass, then turned off onto an even rockier road leading into a side valley. The spring was not quite as advertised.
Basically tastes like rusting, dying things plus carbonation. It's like an iron spring or something. There's also lots of trash here, so this is extra hygienic,
But the landscape on the way more than made up for it. Our first bike adventure together was a success. Our next stop was Yaseen Valley, my favorite valley in all of Gilgit-Baltistan. I'd visited Yaseen in 2018, but at the time, I was assigned a 24/7 security escort. It's just one of the hiccups of being a solo female traveler in Pakistan, you know? Since then, things have changed, and Anika and I were allowed to roam around free as can be. Once we got there, that is.
Anika's in a car with the guest house owner of the place we were just at in Thunder, because I got too much shit in the back. I can't carry her yet. So we're gonna drop off, We're gonna drop off all of our stuff in another town further down, and then we're going to take the bike together to Yaseen Valley. So let's go.
Once we got to Yaseen, we first made our way to Mudari Fort, the ruins of a hilltop fort overlooking the valley. I'd visited the fort in 2018 and thought I could find my way back to it without help. But after some local women pointed us towards a different path leading up to the fort, I realized that, once again, we were lost. But getting lost turned out to be a blessing in disguise. While accidentally wandering through some people's backyards, a local man offered to show us the way to the fort. Not only did he help us scale some rather treacherous slopes, he also invited us back to his family's home for chai and snacks afterwards. Welcome to the hospitality that Pakistan is so famous for. And the invitations didn't stop there. In the time we were apart, Anika befriended a bus driver from Yaseen named Murad. He invited Anika to visit his home in Darkot, the last village in Yaseen Valley. Well, why not? With nothing but loose directions and Murad's name, we drove for an hour and a half toward the end of Yaseen.
Everyone suddenly decided, like, free for all, drive everywhere. What and that's where we got fucked by a
Oops. It might sound crazy, but less than 2 minutes after arriving in Darkot, we were already on our way to Murad's house. All we had to do was ask someone where his house was. Though Murad was away for work, it turns out he'd called ahead to his family. They'd been expecting Anika this whole time. His wife and 2 daughters showed us all around Darkot. They introduced us to their family, taught us a bit about edible plants, and his youngest daughter even took over as our photographer for the day.
What?
recording videos.
Everyone was so sweet that we ended up staying a little bit longer than planned. So that meant we had to say our goodbyes and drive back through the valley in the dark. It wasn't my most successful ride.
So we just drove forever in the dark back from Darkot to Taos. It took us like an hour and a half during the day, but because it was pretty much totally dark in the night, it probably took us like 2-ish hours. We did have one wipeout in the sand where we both ate shit and may have broken a piece off of the bike handlebar. But we made it back in 2 pieces, so at least we're not dead, I think is the most important thing.
Though we were a bit battered and bruised by the time we got back, we lived to see another day. That day, after dropping in on a local teacher whom I'd met the year before, we said goodbye to Yaseen and moved on to a new valley neither of us had ever visited before, Ichkammeon. Like almost all of my adventures in Pakistan,
Are you alone?
we ended up there thanks to a chance encounter. I'd I'd met a man from Ichkammeon named Ghizer the year before, and he invited us to stay at his home in typical northern style. We spent several days with his family, roaming around, meeting their neighbors, and above all else, being fed. Seemingly from dawn till dusk, we were fed everything from fries to noodles to lassi to cherries, all made from locally grown Ichkammeon produce. It was idyllic, but we couldn't just take tour guests to live the slow life and eat all day. Though Ichkammeon was beautiful, and I'd happily eat all day, we decided to pass on Ichkammeon when we planned our final tour itinerary. Our last stop on our recce trip was one of the most epic, Astore. Astore is a district in the southeast of Gilgit-Baltistan. Most tourists drive through Astore to visit Sarama Lake or Deisai Plains. Far fewer tourists actually take the time to visit other parts of the region. We had our work cut out for us. We left our big backpacks in Gilgit, thinking we'd only be in Astore for a day or two. Then we drove the occasionally intimidating 3-hour drive to Astore. We stayed with a friend of a friend in the district capital, Gorikot. It was so gorgeous, we ended up staying for 4 days instead of 1. The most memorable day, by far, was when we tried to get to Mirmalik.
So it's super, super snowy here. So we have the help of all these guys to get the bike across the road. We're going to send you on to Mirmalik. Hopefully they're all deciding whether or not we can actually make it there. What do you think? I think so. At least try. Inshallah, we'll make it one day.
Neither of us knew much about Mirmalik. Our host had told us that it was a beautiful village where women still wore unique traditional headdresses. He showed us where it was on a map, and we figured it would make a good day trip. So, off we went. Or, so we tried.
Can you move like this rock house? No, move this one. Yeah.
Even in May, parts of Astore are still covered in snow. Some roads are still closed off, and landslides caused by melting snow often block others. You think driving on dirt roads is bad? Try driving on loose dirt and snow. With a lot of determination,
Here, push from this side also.
And some help and encouragement from surprised, but kind, local men, we made it to Mirmalik, where we were in for a surprise.
The women in Mirmalik. No, it's okay. The women in Mirmalik wear a special kind of headdress. The white ones, like this one, are for unmarried young women. The black ones are for married, not old women, and then there's one more for older women that neither of us are wearing right now. But they are wearing right now.
Dozens of people had gathered in the village for a funeral that day. But all eyes were on us the moment we arrived. I mean, it's not every day 2 female tourists ride up alone on a motorbike. Despite the ongoing funeral, people were super welcoming and insisted we sit inside to warm up over chai, biscuits, and butter made inside the skin of a goat.
A local form of butter, and they make it in this, which is a goat skin. And they put all of the milk or whatever it is inside here, and then shake it around, and then they take it out. It turns into this.
Trust me, it tastes super legit. We felt bad about disrupting the funeral and tried to slip away. No success. After being shown around town a bit, we said our goodbyes, and I attempted to nonchalantly drive away on the bike as every man in the village watched on. No pressure. But before we left the store, we had to make one more stop. Sarama Lake was our last outing in a store and the final destination of our recce trip. The Alpine Lake sits at 3,500 meters above sea level, at the foot of Nanga Parbat, one of Pakistan's highest mountains, and one of the tallest mountains in the world. We knew it would be gorgeous, but foolishly enough, there was one thing we didn't fully expect. Snow. The trek up to Sarama Lake from the base camp takes about 1 hour. With snow, who knows? Our trek was doomed to be a struggle from the start.
So we were walking up to Sarama Lake.
Because we were 2 girls alone, we were assigned a male police escort, who made us rather uncomfortable and wasn't very helpful.
Told me to go down this way, and this is a terrible way, man. This is super hard. Like, rocks are falling on me and shit. Why did he tell me to go?
What started out as a sunny day turned into a windy snowstorm.
Clouds, go away, clouds. I want to see Nanga Parbat.
And I was wearing sandals because I'd left my hiking boots in Gilgit. Oops. What was supposed to be a 1-hour hike ended up taking more than 4 hours. My feet froze, obviously.
And only has loose sandals, herpy, derpy, derpy.
I lost my cool and got into a squabble with the police officer.
And then it turns out that he was pissed that I walked away from him earlier and sent me down the wrong path on purpose.
And I admit, I was pretty salty by the time we reached the lake. My fault, I know. But in Pakistan, it's hard to stay angry for long.
I thought my feet were gonna fall off, but then I met these nice people over here, and one of them was kind enough to give me one of his pairs of socks. And now we're talking, and it's all good, and we're walking.
And we all came together to find our way back down the mountain. All's well that ends well. And so, our epic recce trip came to a close.
This last morning of our biking adventure, we are both extremely dirty and greasy. Haven't showered.
And my shoes stink.
Her shoes definitely stink. You can see her shoes down here. We're about to bike back to Gilgit and drop off the bike, and then we are done.
We made our way back to Gilgit, got our bags, and began the long and sweaty journey back down the Karakoram Highway to Anika's home and my favorite city in Pakistan, Lahore. The question is, was our recce trip successful? Well, after months of planning, refining, finagling, in September of 2019, Anika and I led women from 5 different countries on a 20-day trip throughout Pakistan on our first ever jointly run women-only tour.
Being here in Pakistan with Alex and Anika has exceeded my expectations more than I could have ever imagined. I would recommend it and do it again in a heartbeat. I feel extremely grateful.
Mission success. Want to join us on one of our future women's tours? Check the link in the description. Or even if you don't feel like joining, don't forget to show some love by giving our adventure a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button for more bizarre and definitely no filter stories from my travels.